Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Salt and Burn This, a supernatural rewatch podcast. My name is Sammy.
I'm Valerie.
Thanks for coming back, y'all.
Again and again, and I love that you do.
Yay. I am prepping for our company Christmas party.
Oh, is it that time again? I feel like you just did that.
I know. I feel that way, too. Which is next week. There's like a week of festivities planned, and God, I can't wait until it's over.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could actually just attend the festivities?
I know.
And then you could be like, oh, it's the holidays. Isn't this great?
Yeah.
Festivities, as opposed to being on the end of, oh, we have to make all that happen.
Yeah. I don't like making it all happen. It's just, it's also, I'm such a bah humbug about Christmas.
I can totally picture you like, here's your decorations.
Yeah.
Here's your frosty beverages, you know. Humbug.
I mean, listen, years and years of working in retail and or food service during the holiday season will scar you for life. Like, I do not know when or if I will ever be able to enjoy Christmas again.
I just am going to say, when you're not on the production end of it, when you're on the receiving end of just being able to dress up and go to a party,
right,
and appreciate the catering staff as caterers, and that's when you'll start to enjoy it again. I promise. When you have somebody serve you, that's when you'll enjoy Christmas again. Right, Julieta? She gets served all the time.
I know, to be a dog.
Well, I should say to be our dogs.
Yeah.
She went to the groomer, and I was hoping they were going to give her more of a cut than they did, because I just brought her in for a trim, not even a trim. I guess they called it a cleanup or whatever. And I thought they were going to really open up her face, at least do the nails. And while they did wash her and fluff her, my Lord, she is like the biggest puffball now. But they didn't really open up her face too much. I'm like, I'm going to have to bring her back in, to do a trim, because I'm like, she's going to grow so fast. But she is so soft right now. Like, I just want to make mittens out of her.
Yeah.
So to the point where she's like, can you stop petting me? Because I'm like, you're just so fluffy.
Season 2, Episode 15, Tall Tales. Something supernatural is offing do-batters at a university. Dean and Sam check into it, mysteriously start bickering like an old married couple, and call Bobby for help. Written by John Shaban and directed by Bradford May.
Well, that does not lie. That's definitely... This was a good episode.
What a treat and what a joy this episode was.
It was also just a fresh breath air, you know.
Yes. I knew, because you mentioned it last time, like this was a first appearance of Richard Speight Jr. And I knew what episode it was, but had forgotten everything about it. I knew the ending. Like, I knew what the ending was going to be, but everything that filled in the episode, I was literally, like, I was laughing like a damn fool the entire time.
I think one of the things I liked about it was not only the writing and stuff, but it's like the actors kind of poked fun at themselves a little bit.
Yes.
In the sense of, anytime there was something that was funny about what was happening, how do I put this? Let's just say, because they're two beautiful men, anytime they could make fun of how they looked, they did. Yes. You know, if it was a freeze frame on a weird face they were making, that's where they froze it, you know? Yeah. Or if it was, Jensen eating, it was not just Jensen eating.
They turned up the notches 20-fold, if you will.
Yeah.
It was
and I appreciate that. I appreciate them taking a chance on making themselves look foolish.
Yes. And what a 180 from, like, especially the last two episodes, which were just so heavy.
So heavy.
And so meaty. I think is how you described the last one. And this is, like, where they start their like experimentation phase of like how far can they go? What kinds of tricks, no pun intended, can we do here? With this
Right?
show, with these characters, how far can we stretch these ghosty things
Yep.
and monsters? Which I
Yep.
would say so far they stretched this pretty hard, but man, it worked.
Pretty hard. But this was so needed, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, this isn't a spoiler, but this is what the episode is. Thankfully, this isn't this particular monster of the week is not an end of the world type of monster. It's not, you know, a zombie. It's not, you know, a Wendigo. It's not this horrible, scary thing. It's still the monster of the week.
Yeah.
But it's
but it's like a humanoid monster kind of thing. And if this is your first time ever watching this show and watching this episode, you will never be able to watch this episode the same way again. You know what I mean? Like you can only enjoy this episode once the way that it was intended.
Right. I had a hard time taking my notes for this because I didn't know how to take them without spoiling what comes next.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's so many things I could say right now about how this episode is shot, filmed, and written, but that's going to kind of spoil the storytelling.
Right.
So I'll just put it out there and say, great monster of the week. Funny episode, especially since, you know, it's the boys bickering and it's funny bickering. Yes. I mean, it starts with the, you know, the then and now. The recap is all the jokester, prankster stuff that the boys do to each other or have done to each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's the silliness, all the silly things. And so just as I watched the recap, I was like, yes. You know, the gloom and doom is put away for a little bit.
Yeah. So, after the recap of silliness, the teaser shows a big college campus, a guy in very professor-type wear. You know, he's got, like, the tweed jacket and the scarf and the briefcase.
The briefcase, yes.
He's even got that weird professorial accent when he speaks. Am I making sense? Yeah, refined, maybe slightly New England, and I don't even think that they were in New England. Like he was almost like a Frasier, you know, like he was trying to be a Frasier.
A little bit. He just oozed academia.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, there was no Chiron. But later, when the boys are in their workers' jackets. It does say Ohio, so I assume there's somewhere in Ohio. I don't believe anybody in Ohio speaks like Frasier.
I don't think anyone speaks like Frasier anywhere.
Yeah, except for Frasier or Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer.
He does kind of naturally speak that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, this professor.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the building you described was beautiful. I was like, wow, what this beautiful stone brick building with this amazing stained glass window. And it's kind of winter. There's snow on the ground. It's dark late at night, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't say super late at night. It's just because he's going to his office.
Yeah, it's nighttime. It's cold, obviously, because of his outerwear. But then he approaches this girl who's on the ledge tying her shoe or something, who's just in a skimpy little dress.
No winterwear, no boots, no scarf, no coat.
No, it's definitely a sundress.
Yes. And he's like, hey, are you lost? And she says no. This woman, I mean, and she's cute, you know, she's this like cute, pretty, you know, college girl looking. She screamed, her vibe to me was Ali Sheedy. I was like, her mannerisms, her look, Ali Sheedy from Breakfast Club.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, that smile.
It's mostly the mannerisms, but she's like very wide-eyed. I mean, he even says it like wide-eyed, naive or something like that.
Naive, yeah, exactly. But he's like, yeah, are you lost? And she's like, no, actually, I was waiting for you.
Yep, I'm one of your students, and I was hoping that I could see you now, even though it's not your office hours. Very coyly, and
and he's like, well, my office hours are, you know, in the morning, so come back, you know. But then he's like, well, okay,
yeah.
come on in anyway, and invites her up into his office.
Yes, where she grabs a book where he is, he's also an author, as well as a professor, because there's a book with like a giant photograph of him on the back cover where she's fondling it.
Right. So handsome. Yes, the name of this book, Modern Morality.
Yes.
So she's still like flirty, coy with him, which is like making me grind my teeth.
And then she admits, I'm not really one of your students. And he's like, really? Well, what are you doing here? And I mean, she gives him like the, I say it from Wedding Crashers, I fucked the shit out of him look. Before she did, it's like, oh, no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. And then tries to turn away. He stops her. And there's such a douchebag thing to do, but his words and his actions are very obviously not lining up. Because what he's saying is, I really shouldn't take advantage of you because you are young, you're doe-eyed.
She's a fan who's smitten with him because of, his small fame in the area. He's a professor, he's a writer, he's used to young girls being all kind of doe-eyed at him. But he's saying, I shouldn't take advantage of you, while reaching his hand out to her and drawing her in closer.
Yes, and caressing her and brushing the hair away from her face. Yes.
Mansplaining to her why, she's the one who is young and naive and going to get herself into a situation.
And then immediately starts making out with her.
Yeah.
Whilst they are making out, we see this beautiful doe-eyed girl just start decomposing. Which, because as he pulls away, he's like, ooh.
Ooh, he's been kissing a corpse.
He's backing away, like, towards the window, and it seems like she doesn't realize what's going on with her face.
Yeah. What's the matter? Don't you like me?
Yes.
And he's like, no, back away. And, but the next thing we see is the janitor outside the building locking up. He's got his janitor keys on an, retracto leash from his belt. Locks the doors to the building and starts to walk down the stairs. Then you hear this like whoosh, thud. And he turns around to see the professor has either been thrown, fell, or jumped out his window and is dead crushed on the steps to the front of this building.
He literally like did a dead fall behind him.
Right. Title splash. So introducing Richard Speight Jr. as the janitor.
Yes.
I have a little trivia about Richard Speight Jr. Who this actor goes on to direct a number of episodes of Supernatural.
Yeah.
And he was a very present character in the Supernatural cons and stuff like that. He actually saved one of the actors' lives during one of these Supernatural conferences when the actor had a stroke at the conference, and he himself, Richard Speight Jr., rushed him to the hospital and was able to get him medical care before the stroke did any full damage.
Oh my God, was it Lassie?
No, even though he did have a stroke. No, it was.
Oh, Rob. It was a Chuck.
Chuck. Yep.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know.
I wanted to put that out there in the beginning because I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow. Now I love him even more. So anyway, fangirling about Richard Speight Jr. So we cut to a shot of outside a hotel.
The King's
called
Lair.
The King's Lair. And, okay, you have apartment envy often. I had hotel envy with this place.
Really?
Yes. It was such a vibe or mood, however you want to call it, that I was totally into.
Oh.
I loved everything about it. I loved how grungy it looked. Okay. I loved the
you're
color
noting that as
combination.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you... Okay. I was so overwhelmed by the grunge. I was like, wow. But at the same time, it had this royal vibe. Like, the headboards had this little royal crest on it. The ceilings were impossibly high. And so it had this wide open, but yet dank, And like there could have been water running down the walls.
See, I didn't think that it was moldy. I thought it was more like that was part of the decorative finish of the paint or the wallpaper.
Okay.
And then in the middle of all of this like dark grunginess, there's like this retro powder blue refrigerator in the kitchen. I was just in love. I was just like, I would live here.
That's great.
100%.
That's great. I did like the couch. Because it was like a velvet couch that maybe had some of the velvet's been rubbed off from it, you know? Yes. It reminded me of that chair we found and brought into the apartment. That velvet blue chair we found, which was awesome.
It was so awesome. I wish I would have
taken
it and kept it.
But yeah, so I get you on the vibe. I was like, wow, it's called the Royal, King's Lair. And it just looked like maybe in its day, yes, but now it's just this like semi old.
And huge. Like for a second, before I missed the shot of the hotel sign the first time I watched it, and I thought they were like, did they rent an apartment for a minute? Because it has this huge kitchen. It's got a huge dresser that's like the size of my dresser here.
The beds were huge.
Yes.
And they had separate areas of this hotel room. There was the kitchen, there was the beds, there was the table where Sam was working and trying to do his research, which he couldn't do because he didn't have his laptop.
Yes. Great segue. So let's stop fangirling about this hotel room.
All right. And you never get to do it, so there you go. I know. You got it all in.
So Dean is on the bed eating like the messiest chili fry type of thing you've ever seen.
I love like all you hear though during this particular moment is like
it's just mouth like, sounds.
Smack. Yeah, it's just Dean eating greasy like French fries or cheese fries or whatever.
And then sitting on the couch on the other side of the room, you hear Sam just like all these exasperated noises. He's like flipping pages because he cannot really concentrate.
Yeah. Well, because Dean's also got the radio playing next to him.
Yeah.
Unconcerned about Sam's discomfort. How's the research going? Oh, wait, no, it's because Sam is like, could you not eat on my bed?
Could you not eat on my bed? Could you maybe help with the research? Could you maybe turn down the radio? Which Dean does the exact opposite of all of those. Like
all of those.
Grabs like a huge mouthful.
And typical brothers. I mean, typical. I'm going to say this over and over again. My sisters and I did this to each other relentlessly.
Oh, yeah. My sister and me as well.
So, obviously, Sam's missing his computer, but we also find out that one of the reasons Dean is stuck in the room just eating and, annoying Sam is that his car's messed up. So, it's not like he can go out and investigate anything. Just the way Sam can investigate because he doesn't have his computer. Yes,
and they don't outwardly say you did it, but you can kind of tell by the tone of their voice they think the other had something to do with it. Yep. It's a very accusatory tone. So right at the tension point, somebody knocks at the door. It's Bobby! 2 episodes in a row! Woohoo!
Oh, so happy to see him, and so were the boys.
Yes.
Like, so glad you're here. Come on in. And he's like, what? What was so important that you didn't want to tell me this over the phone? And they like kind of sit him down and like, okay, this is what's been going on.
Yes. They need a fresh pair of eyes to look at this case because they are just in over their heads. And okay, while I do love the apartment or hotel room, it's disgusting because Bobby like ends up like moving a plate of food or like old food off of the bed.
Yeah. There's beer bottles.
Gross.
There's Chinese takeout. It's just,
I could like smell that room. You know what I mean? It totally smells like old food and boy.
Yep. And Bobby noticed that too.
Yeah.
And I wanted to note that as much as the boys were bickering, at least they agreed to call Bobby.
Yeah.
So they put their heads together on that at least. So they start to explain to Bobby about this case that they're working on. And because it started with reading an obit in the newspaper about this professor who swan dived out his window. And it turns out that there's a urban legend that building, that campus building, is haunted. So Sam and Dean are like, let's check it out. Yeah. So they go in disguise as reporters.
Yes. Right? So just a note here, they're using a framing device of like, they're telling the story of like, okay, 1 week ago we did this. Yep. So they're telling Bobby the story, but
we're seeing it
as they're telling it.
Time.
And it will go back and forth. Yeah.
And so they're cut to a bar, like a college campus bar, and Sam is talking to two co-eds, trying to get their take on the death of this professor. Mm-hmm. And in typical like college kid fashion, they're so excited to be interviewed for the newspaper or for whatever magazine, that they're like telling their side of the story, and the other person keeps interrupting them. Like one student interrupts the other. It's like, that's not how it happened, or and so one guy's being interviewed as like a jock, frat guy. He's got the leather jacket on, and the other one just is like, she just looks like a typical co-ed.
Yeah,
retelling the story about, there was a girl, a student on campus, who had an affair with a professor, and when he broke it off with her, she was so despondent that she threw herself out of the window of that building, and it was out of room 669.
Because you turn the 9 around, get it?
It becomes
666.
666. Sam's like, okay. And then she embellishes more, and she's like, and so now it's told that this girl's ghost haunts that building, and anybody who sees her doesn't live to tell the tale. Yeah. That's when the jock chimes in. He's like, if no one lives to tell the tale, how are you telling it? Which is like point. Typical of urban legends.
Yes, that's a good point.
How does the urban legend get, word of mouth? How does this keep happening? Yep. And she's like, whatever.
Yeah. And it was, I think at this point, Sam just like shuts the tape recorder off. He's like, oh, okay.
Like,
thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Camera swings to Dean. So Dean's doing his own style of investigating by talking to like a drunken co-ed at the bar. The shot starts with actually like 3 shots on the bar. So 3 actually alcoholic shots on the bar. And Sam makes his way over to Dean after Dean like chugs like 3 of these shots, and Sam's like, what are you doing? Dean, we're supposed to be investigating. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And Dean is just, this is the introduction, by the way, of the purple nurple, which is...
There, I have a recipe for it.
Oh, okay. Which has become canon in Supernatural. So, okay, hit me.
Okay, so all of these will be in amounts of 1/4 ounce, or like 1 part. 1 part blue curacao, 1 part vodka, 1 part apple schnapps, 1 part sour mix, and 1 part grenadine.
Well, grenadine I like, but the apple schnapps, that just sounds disgusting.
Sounds very sour.
Yeah.
Because it's not only the apple schnapps, but the sour mix. Although, you know what, this sounds very close to one of my favorite college drinks, which was a Jolly Rancher. But instead of schnapps, it was pucker. Have you ever had the pucker? It comes in a very variety of flavors. Like there's a green apple one. There's a blue raspberry one.
I'm just visualizing something like bright green.
It is bright green, bright blue. There's a raspberry. There's whatever, but it's like that and Sprite. Or you could bump it up with some vodka, but it tastes exactly like a Jolly Rancher. It's a very wimpy drink, but man, it's good.
Oh man, 3 purple nurples, Dean.
And he's feeling it.
Yeah, he's pretty looped, but he doesn't seem to think he is.
No.
But Sam does. But Dean is like, after he does his shot, he's like, no, I've been investigating. I've been talking to, I got someone here who knows, who knows something. And he's like, what does he call her? A feisty
little wildcat.
A feisty little wildcat. Now I'm going to reel her in or something like that. And this girl turns around. And he's like, meet Starla.
Yeah, of course her name is Starla.
And she's like, oh, Shantae. She's just drunk and having a good time.
Yes, and almost vomiting a little bit in her mouth.
Oh,
and
God. Trying to keep my liquor down. And Dean's
apparently
like,
yeah, and she's got a sister. Wow.
His sister introduces Sam as Major Tom. His my shuttle co-pilot, Major Tom.
He says with a shit-eating grin.
Yep. And that's when, for the first time, this image freezes.
Yeah.
Like, the action stops, the image, the scene stops. And you hear a voiceover like, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
And then snap to
real
present
time.
day, real time with Sam and Dean now countermanding each other. That's not what I said. That's not how it happened.
Yeah, I don't say things like feisty little wildcat.
Feisty little wildcat. And he's like, all right, so how did it happen then? So now Dean's retelling the story.
Yes. You almost like hear the little like the river.
And this time, instead of it being like this kind of grungy college bar and a drunken, starlet co-ed, there's like cool jazz playing in the background. It's, more of a nightclub rather than a bar.
See, I felt like it was kind of the same bar. It was just like the music was definitely different.
Atmosphere.
Yeah. Because he was still drinking out of those stupid little plastic shot glasses that have the line on the top of them. Yeah, they were still taking shots. They weren't purple nurples, but
they were still doing shots.
They were still doing shots.
They were like, to us.
Yes, so drinking. Starla has now become an entirely different woman. I would say like corporate, classy, lawyer lady. I don't know.
Like an ankle length dress.
Yeah.
She's not wearing a cut off jean skirt anymore and a tank top. She's like dressed. She's a little bit classier, we'll just say. And so you're right. No, it is the same place. It's just a different atmosphere to the place. Yeah. And he's like, so, let's get back to what we were talking about. And this girl says, oh, but I can't. You're just so attractive. I can't concentrate. It's like staring into the sun. And proceeds to start making out with Dean.
Yeah, Dean, I was just like, okay, so Dean obviously thinks like he's James Bond or something.
Yes, exactly.
Like this is how he sees himself, is just like women like literally falling all over themselves to get to him, and he's just like, please, lives are at stake.
Right. No, I couldn't possibly. Woman, control yourself. We have to get to the bottom of this. Mm-hmm. But then she can't control herself, throws herself at him, and starts kissing him. Mm-hmm. And this is where Sam comes in and interrupts and is like, Dean.
The face.
The
Jared was just like
prissy. I mean, right? Just this prissy face. He's like, Dean, just what do you think you're doing?
And I could not make it past this phase. It just cracked me up. It was like this pursed lip.
The tight lips. Yes. And then while he's talking, he like morphs into blah, 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 blah. And when he first said blah, 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 he's like, we really need to get back to the investigation of blah, 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 blah. And I stopped and I was like, wait, what did he say? And then the next sentence is blah, 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 blah. And that's where we have our second freeze. Mm-hmm. And you hear Sam say in real time, I do not sound like that. Yeah. and Dean is like, that's what you sound like to me.
Yeah. And this is where
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. This is where Bobby just kind of puts a kibosh on it for a second. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? As the description says, bickering like an old married couple. And Dean is like, nah, because married couples can get divorced. I'm stuck with this guy.
Dean's like, it's like we're Siamese twins. And Sam says, it's conjoined twins. And Dean's like, see? And I just went, oh my gosh, that's me. That is so me. I'm the one who's like always trying to correct people with grammar and stuff, even if it doesn't make my point. It doesn't improve my case at all, but I still have to correct someone's grammar.
Okay, so
back at the college building.
Yeah, Bobby is just like, all right, just move along. What's happening? So the boys go into the professor's office as, I guess they're cable guys. They never quite say what they are. I just assumed by the labels on the jackets and describing
Ohio DSL
Yeah.
Connect. So yeah, they're there to wire the office for DSL.
Right.
And so the janitors let them into the office.
Yes, and he was just like, not gonna do you much good to wire this office, because this guy's dead. I saw it happen. Like, he's just, I can't really describe his demeanor, this janitor.
He's happy to be in the know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He's like, I've got some details. And because Sam and Dean kind of, they're like, oh, why, you know, he killed himself? Where? How? You know, and they start, you know, asking him for stuff. And the janitor's
yes, and
like,
they even bust out the EMF right in front of him.
Yep. And he's like, hey, what's that for?
It's like, oh, you know, finding the wires. It's like, oh, that's a ballsy move, pulling out a crazy device in front of a stranger.
I guess they can get away with it because they've got their, like, you know, their tackle boxes of
stuff.
So why not have a beep beep device? Mm-hmm. But the janitor goes on to say, yeah, he died. He went right out that window, right over there. And, you know, it goes on to tell about, you know, he called himself Mr. Morality, but he had women in here all the time.
I believe it was, he got more ass than a toilet seat, was the direct quote.
I was like, that's disgusting, but accurate.
Yes.
You know? And but he also goes on to say, oh, this isn't what I was going to say, but while the janitor is retelling this, and while he's giving the ass, you know, more ass than a toilet seat, you know, details, Dean has found like a bowl of candy on the professor's desk, and you see him start to you know, pop a couple in his mouth. But then the next time the camera goes to Dean, he is full on chipmunk cheat. He has stuffed so many in his mouth that he can't close his lips. And then you hear the voiceover of Dean saying, "Oh, come on! I only had one or two.
Yeah,
I didn't do that." But Sam continues telling the story from his point of view and doesn't correct how much food Dean has put in his mouth.
Because Dean is still, like, before he's, like, chewing and swallowing the pieces of candy he has in his mouth, he just keeps adding more. He's, like, hamstering or, chipmunking, like, these candies. And he just looks ridiculous.
Yeah. And he's laughing at the things that the janitor is saying.
Yeah.
You know, so he's responding to the janitor, and the janitor is like, hey, this guy thinks I'm funny. So he keeps going. So the janitor keeps going because, you know, Dean's responding.
He's got an audience, yeah.
Yes.
Well, Sam starts asking him questions, you know, about the last girl that was up here. And the janitor's like, nope, never seen her here before, and I didn't see her leave.
Right.
There is, you know, there are only 4 floors in this building, so it's impossible that there is a room 669.
669. Yeah. So what was that girl talking about? Right. What was that co-ed talking about? Dean still stuffing his face.
Yes. And like the last shot before they cut back to real time is, I don't know, he looks like a character of The Godfather almost, because what's his name had like the cotton in his face.
The cotton in his,
muzzle, but like he's like, I don't know, he just, I also see this gif all the time, is like his face stuffed with the caramels or whatever the hell he was eating.
Yep. But that was one of the reasons I was like, oh my God, he looks so unattractive when he does that. But as a performer, most people don't want to make themselves look unattractive. Yeah. But they went there. You know, he's like, this is it. I'll just do it. I'm just going to go for what it's called for. Yes. And I just love that it never got corrected. No. He didn't get to tell his side of the story.
No, but don't worry, he gets his turn.
So back at the hotel, the boys decide to do some research into the story that the janitor told. We see Sam open up his computer to do his Sam research, and he's kind of like, hey, my computer's frozen. And then he like looks to Dean. He's like, have you been on my computer? And Dean's like, no. And Sam's like, come on, it's frozen on bustyasianbeauties.com. You know, who else would, you know, be looking at that? And this is what I love about this time frame too, is that computers froze easily. Yeah. You know, you never knew what it was going to take to like choke your computer, freeze your computer. And of course it was going to freeze on something, you know, embarrassing. Yeah. Inappropriate. Yeah. Busty Asian Beauties, which by the way, if you went there, It was a link that took you directly back to the WB homepage.
I wonder how much that cost to buy that domain.
Because Busty Asian Beauties comes up, it becomes like that's not the first or the last time Dean visits that website.
Because they're still paying for that domain, I'm sure, too. But in an answer, Dean doesn't say anything.
Leaves the room.
Yep.
Leaves the room. And Bobby interrupts. And that's when he says, yeah, but okay, did you find anything? And that's when they're like, no.
Yeah. Legend didn't really check out. There's nothing weird with the building. But then this other thing happened.
What? And the guy's like, we can't. This is so weird.
Yeah, we can't prepare you for what we're about to tell you. So we cut to back into story mode. Curtis, who was the frat boy that Sam was talking to earlier with the chick, is walking along the campus. And then all of a sudden you see a bright light above him, just like an alien light. And you hear kind of some
starts to chase him.
Yes, engine-y noises above. And then the light starts to lift this guy up while he's screaming, like very slowly, and he's just like screaming his head off. He's like, no.
And he's lifted, a la alien abduction, up into this super bright light that just so happens to be in front of that professor's building, in front of that same building. So he is abducted by aliens.
And this is where Bobby's just like, no.
Because even in their supernatural world, of all the things that they've seen, aliens is not one of them.
Yes. Or at least they may exist, but they have not ever come across an abduction story that has checked out.
A true abduction story. Yeah. So I just think that's funny that in their world of the supernatural, one thing they can say that they're not going to run into, aliens.
Or angels.
So cut to the boys now talking to the frat boy after his abduction. And the first scene you see is, again, 3 shots on the table. Which I'm like, what was the connection of 3 shots? I'm sure it had something I couldn't
3 is the magic number. That's all it is.
So this poor guy, Curtis, is retelling the story of his abduction. And he's clearly shaken.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to be reading about this. This has got to be off the record, and he's trying to, clearly drink away his
trauma,
pain, his trauma. But he tells Sam and Dean the story that he was abducted. He's agonizing over everything he tells them.
Yes, he does not want to be admitting this out loud because it sounds frickin' crazy.
Yeah,
but he says
tests.
Yep, I blacked out. They did tests on me, and then they
probed me again and again and again.
And oh my god, the faces that Sam and Dean exchange while Curtis keeps saying again and again and again and again.
Sam had to look away because he was laughing.
Yes,
and then he looks back and he's got his
he's got
sincere Sam face back on.
I'm so concerned.
And then he's like, and I can't tell you what happened next. It's the worst thing. And Dean is like, you were made an alien's bitch. What could be worse than that? And that's when Curtis admits that they made me slow dance. Cut to
they actually
Curtis slow dancing with an alien to Lady in Red.
Yeah,
and there's like a disco ball that's slowly spinning. And this alien, of course, only comes up to his belly button and it's hugging him around the waist. And they're slow dancing to Lady in Red is dancing with me. And this alien is cuddling him. He's like, oh, he's hugging him. And Curtis just has this bewildered look on his face. He's kind of looking around in the darkness what's happening? I laughed for a good.
I know this was a good time. So ridiculous in the best way.
And Bobby interrupts this scene, and he's like, "You guys are making this up.
Yeah,
you guys are exaggerating." And at the same time, Dean and Sam are like, "No,
yeah,
this is what happened." And so they go back to the scene of the abduction in front of the that building, and there's a giant burnt circle in the grass, kind of like a crop circle, as if an alien UFO had landed or burnt the grass while it was abducting Curtis.
And Sam says there's no other way that this could have been made except by a jet engine. So then they investigate some more, and they find a fellow frat guy who was in Curtis's. He was like a fraternity brother within the frat. Whatever.
He was like a pledge. Yeah,
I don't know how those work. So this is the opposite end. So the last time Sam just got to kind of pile on through and make Dean out to be a fool. And in this one is Dean's turn. So they're sitting there asking the frat boy questions. And Sam, what we always say, he's got such a caring bedside manner. Here it's just like he really hams it up.
Oh, God.
It's amazing.
He's like, he starts hugging this guy. He's like, I feel you. You're hurt. You little brave soldier. And he's like hugging him and like stroking his hair. You know, like sympathetic Sam times 1,000.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Brave little soldier. And Sam's like, I didn't say that. And Dean says, you're always saying pansy stuff like that.
Oh, God. And it's just like, one more moment of the highlighted differences between Dean and Sam.
I know.
And the fact that we're always talking about sympathetic Sam and, you know, douchebag Dean. Yeah. And in this episode, they literally play those personality traits up to like 1,000. I love that. I was like, I feel validated, Sammy.
Yeah, I
know. But, oh, God, I could play those clips over and over again of Sam just like hugging him and then hugging him again.
He's just like petting him almost. He's just like petting his hair while like Dean's asking him questions and he's answering. And the frat guy is just like looking at Sam like, I'm
okay. You don't have to be doing this. Yeah, that actor was on Eureka with the Ronald character from Night Shifter. So those two are both on Eureka. Little trivia there for you.
This frat guy admits that Curtis was just an asshole.
Kind of a dick, yeah. He would haze people who were pledging.
Yeah. So he got what he deserved.
Got what he deserved. Just like the professor who was a douchebag and hit on students, got what he deserved. Mm-hmm. Back at the hotel, the guys figure out this connection.
Right, yeah. Dean is kind of like, he's figured out the pattern that whatever this monster is, like going after dicks.
It's almost poetic.
Yes.
I guess it could have been a limerick.
Whatever, Dean. But meanwhile, like Sam is like frantically like tearing the hotel room apart because he's missing his computer.
And he accuses Dean. He's like, "What'd you do with my computer? What'd you do with my laptop?" And finally, Sam's just like, "Listen, don't touch my stuff anymore. Don't mess with my stuff. How would you feel if I messed with your car?" Yeah. And Dean, be the last thing you ever did. You know. And I was like, I believe Dean in that moment, you know.
So, Sam is very much me as a sibling, where I was like, don't touch my stuff, get out of my room, stay out of my room, stay out of my stuff.
See, I always tried to be like Dean. I always tried to be like the tough guy. Like, fine, go ahead. Do what you're going to do. I can take it. I'll just get you back. You know what I mean? I was that person.
Okay, so...
Oh, so now they really start fighting. It's like now all the little things are really starting to annoy them.
Yeah.
And Bobby interrupts again. Mm-hmm. Voice of reason, Bobby.
Yes.
So they then tell Bobby the next story. So the next story is about this guy who does testing on animals. So animal tester, thus a dick, you know, and we see this guy coming out of the same building. His labs or his office was in the same building. He's coming down the stairs, going to his car, and he notices a watch in a storm drain. Looks around like, I wonder who could have dropped this.
Yeah.
And reaches down, decides to, he's instead of just leaving it, he's that guy. He's that guy who's going to reach in and try to get the watch.
Yeah.
And while he's like on his hands and knees, he's got his hand in the storm drain, you know, like trying to reach the watch. You hear this like kind of growling and like doesn't stop him. He's still reaching for the, you know, for the watch. And then you hear this like, you know, rawr, chomp.
Yeah. And splatter.
And the sound of like limbs being torn. And, you know, this guy starts like screaming in agony. So this guy is grabbed. He's grabbed and torn to pieces by something.
Yes, he's covered in his own blood splatter. A time jump, the boys have snuck into the morgue to check out the real cause of death. And when they like open up his little
drawer.
Cooler, his drawer, they're like, well, This isn't going to be too hard. Because there's like 2 limbs or extremities left.
It's like a leg and half of an arm.
Yes. And while they're investigating these extremities, Sam notices something, pulls out like the little magnifying, like the doctor scientist magnifying light thing, and adds to his list of careers and skills, and is all of a sudden a zoologist.
Right?
It's like, oh, look at that. That kind of looks like a belly scale from an alligator.
Right? And I was like, what? Did he say belly scale? Yes. And then they show you, like the camera zooms in on it. I'm like, what are we looking at?
Right. I thought they were going to say tooth. Like it looked like a tooth.
Yeah. I was like, what, a belly scale? Really? So he's a computer hacker and, like you said, a zoologist. He knows what an alligator belly scale looks like.
Yes. How did you identify that in 5 seconds?
Right.
A belly scale.
So, belly scale. Yeah. That must lead us to the alligator in the sewer urban legend, which is, kids have a baby alligator, they flush it down the toilet, it now grows up in the sewer and becomes huge because it has no predators. So they decide to search the sewers.
They're talking about like, well, what do we do next? I mean, we can search the sewers, but maybe we also call Bobby, like maybe he's run into this kind of thing before. And he's like, oh yeah, just your typical haunted campus alien abduction alligator in the sewer gig. Real simple. It was just,
I think I glossed over that because I was like, supernatural.
I know.
I wanted to also say
it made
that
me laugh.
When they break into the morgue, they use the exact same knife through and unlock the window lock.
Oh, that Sam couldn't do.
That Sam couldn't do. That Jared couldn't do. And I was like, I guess the props figured out how to set the window lock properly so that Jared could unlock it with his knife, without getting into a fight with the director. So they decide to search the sewers. And Bobby's like, did you find anything? And Dean says, didn't find anything in the sewers, but I did find something. And you see him like climb out of the sewers, all clean, by the way, and is walking back to the Impala to be like, I didn't find anything, and notices a flat tire. Walks around to the other side of the Impala and notices another flat tire. Son of a bitch. And then as he's looking at the flat tire, he sees a money clip. And I was like, sweet.
All 4 tires are flat.
Oh, all 4? I thought it was just the back 2.
No. It's all 4 of them are just...
All 4 tires are flat. Okay.
Empty.
And, but he also then finds a money clip. And I was like, sweet. So he pockets the money clip. And the next thing we see is...
Well, he sees this as it's monogrammed with SW, the money clip.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Oh, I missed
that. So
that.
that's how he automatically knew, it was Sam's.
It's Sam's.
He is pissed because he runs into the hotel room and Sam is just like, oh, yeah, I didn't find anything. Did you? He's like, you can't let the air out of the tires or it's going to bend the rims. Or something car.
Sam's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he's like, look what I found. And he holds up the money clip and Sam like does the whole pat the butt like he's looking for his money clip. And he's like, how did you give me that?
Give me back my money. Don't touch my things.
Don't touch my things. And Sam's like, no. Well, come get it type of thing.
But this whole thing just devolves into just a brothers tickle wrestling little fight.
Wrestling. Like, give it back. It's mine. No, come get it. What are you going to do? Type of thing. To the point where they grab each other and fall in the bed and are wrestling for the money clip.
Yeah.
And it's one of the, I think, a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Just because it's the brothers wrestling on the bed. And the ridiculousness of it is, again, when they freeze frame on this fight, when Bobby's like, enough, and they freeze frame on the action, the looks on both of their faces are these ridiculously stupid faces.
Yeah, I think one of them is like pushing the other one's face away. It's like that. Can't describe it on a podcast very well, but
no, but it's just funny, unattractive.
It's funny, physical humor.
Yes. And it's like to see these two who are normally so cool and collected and are always like, you got to save me, brother, and all this stuff. And they're literally fighting like 7-year-olds on the bed. I was like, yay. I was like, who hasn't? Whoever has siblings, who has not had this fight?
Right.
Yeah. So finally, Bobby steps in.
Yes, again.
And he's figured it out.
The voice of reason. And he's just like, guys, it's obvious what this is. Your heads are just so far up your asses and like...
that you can't see it.
You can't see it, but you're the biggest clue. This is obviously a trickster. I'm like, oh,
and Dean's like, yeah, that's what I thought.
Of course it is. But
I was gonna say that. No, you weren't.
What's a trickster?
What's a trickster? Yeah, exactly. So it turns out a trickster is not a spirit or a demon. It's a demigod. Mm-hmm. It's a demigod, immortal demigod that basically just causes chaos wherever it goes. And it's figured out that you're onto him, which is why he's been messing with you guys to keep you occupied so he can continue doing his trickster stuff. Mm-hmm. They can create things. They can vanish things. So
they can make things appear just as real as anything.
Yep. So like an alligator in the sewer.
Or aliens that are slow dancing.
Aliens. Right. Now Bobby's kind of broken the spell. So now the boys have, they can kind of see things a little bit more clearly.
Right. And now they're like, oh, okay, so now we need to find out what do they look like? Well, could be anything, but mostly human.
And they're like, okay, so what's been the constant thread in this whole thing other than the building itself? It's the janitor.
Yes. And we cut to Sir Janitor in his own apartment, which is very, very swanky.
He's wearing red silk boxers.
Yeah, and socks.
Socks. He's wearing a white, A-line tank. Mm-hmm. He's got a dog. He's reading, tabloid trash magazines.
Yes, all which have, the same titles of the things that have been happening.
Everything that just happened. Alligator in the sewer.
Yep.
Alien... abduction.
And one that catches his eye is a cannibal chainsaw monster. It kills family. Yeah, something like that.
On one of the tabloids, it says an alien made me its love slave. That's what it's. Sorry, I was can't read my handwriting. An alien made me its love slave. I'm just going to point out that there was a typo.
Oh no.
Yep, they made it apostrophe s. It's. Instead of just it's. Oh. So they made it is. Anyway, so just grammatic typo, Valerie.
Didn't you just 10 minutes ago say...
that I'm that girl, even though it doesn't actually help my case in any way? Yes, but I had to point that out because it was big, bold, font on that stupid page. I'm like, come on. So
maybe it was done on purpose. Because it's a tabloid.
Yes, indeed. But I still wanted to point it out. Thank you. So yes, chainsaw massacre of some kind. Cannibal, chainsaw, madman. That's the last title we see before the janitor closes it. And he's like, Are you hungry? He's talking to his dog. Yeah. I'm hungry. I could eat. And stands up, walks over into his kitchen where his kitchen table is just laden with all of these desserts and savory, scrumptious looking sweet things, and proceeds to start eating. And then he's like, but something's missing. And then these two half-naked beautiful women appear, morph out of thin air,
they materialize next to him and start caressing him,
proceed to feed him and caress him and giggle on him. He's like, yeah. So I still can't get past the red silk boxers. The janitor is the trickster.
Da-da-da. Okay, so then the next day, the boys are back into the building as their cable guy persona. The janitor is letting them up, I don't know, a different floor, but anyway, he's bragging about what a long night he had.
How much sex he had.
Get it?
They're like, yeah, we get it. Did you notice, though, that he always had to be a couple of steps ahead of Jensen and Jared? He's so short.
He's so short, yeah.
He's so short that he always complained that he always had to be standing on half apples or full apples in scenes with Jensen and Jared because they're so tall.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me giggle. That's got to be demoralizing, though, a little bit. To be an actor
I guess
who always has to be placed up on a, I mean, I always laugh because when I call shows, I usually have to get what I call a stunt step. I have to have a half apple, so I'm tall enough to read my score because of. I shouldn't laugh, but I laugh out of solidarity because I know the feeling.
Sam fakes that he forgot something in the truck until the other guy should proceed. And while they go upstairs, he sneaks back down into the janitor's little cage area, locker space, where he's opening up lockers, trying to find clues. And in one of them, he finds all of the tabloid magazines.
Right.
Aha.
Ha.
However, as the boys, now that they've finished their fake cable guy job, are still arguing as they're leaving. Dean is positive that it's the janitor because the magazines are there. It's obvious it's him. Sam still needs more proof.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not seeing any type of candy bars or proof that he has a sweet tooth because Bobby mentioned that the demigods tend to have a sweet tooth. He's like, I'm not seeing it. Yeah. So before you haul off and go staking this guy, I need to go do some more research. So wait here and don't do anything.
Yes. Dean also calls him a tight ass because he's always has been one. So they're like really laying into it here. That's kind of, I think, what drives him. It's like, look, just stay here. Don't kill him until I get back.
And what you see is that the janitors saw them. He overheard this conversation.
He's been watching them the whole time.
Now, I have a question real quick because Sam does say, don't barge in and stake the man.
Yeah.
Was there something that wasn't said to us?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, there was.
About killing the immortal guy.
Yes.
With a stake.
It's a stake that's been soaked in the victim's last blood. In his last victim's blood. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Which was not said in this episode.
Okay. Because that was one of my questions. Because
I think later it was probably cut for time, I assume. And then they just left in a little bit of Sam saying staked, just so there's some kind of clue of how to kill this guy.
Okay.
But no, there was nothing said. I checked. I was just like, wait, did I miss something?
Okay, just checking. Because I was like, how did they come up with this?
Right.
As the solution.
Yeah.
So tired of waiting, Dean decides to go inside anyway. Without Sam, and is now looking for the janitor.
He's not in his little cage area, kind of looking around. Eventually, he starts to pull the stake out of his jacket, just in case.
Just in case he's around the corner, and he hears, Dean hears Barry White. He starts to hear this, like, groovy Barry White music. And just as he was about to go upstairs, and instead he opens up the door to a lecture hall, which has been completely decked out in, I can only imagine, is like one of Dean's fantasies.
Right.
Again, with the disco ball, low lighting, and up on the lecture stage is like this round bed draped in red satin, and those two beautiful women, half-naked beautiful women, are on the stage, and they're kind of gently dancing like, yay, come on down. Yeah. So the set for this was supposed to be, and if you saw in the background, there's like a blackboard of like kind of cutesy written. It was supposed to be like sex school was kind of the theme of what they were going for here, and they did have some things on the blackboard. That standards and practices said absolutely not. You can't have that on network TV. I get it, and it wasn't necessary either.
No,
just having two half-naked women,
is enough. But I guess they were really trying to play up the like this is the trickster's personality. It's just porn,
porn, and also playing towards Dean's weaknesses, which is
porn.
Because Dean right away he's like got that little smile like, oh my god,
am I in heaven?
Yeah, and he starts to like walk down the stairs towards these women, and then you hear the trickster's voice, and Dean turns and sees that the janitor
because he says to the ladies as he's like really fighting to like not go up in the bed with them. It's like, you guys aren't real. And they're like, oh sugar, it's gonna feel real. And like his little like
he's like, no, I can't.
Yeah,
I couldn't possibly.
That
I
had
to
to have
save
been
the world.
The hardest refusal that
You're
Dean
right.
Winchester has ever had to make.
Oh, he did have a little body quake there.
Yeah.
He's like,
she's
okay, no, I can't. I gotta save the world instead.
Yeah.
And that's when he turns and he sees the trickster, the janitor, who's sitting in the lecture hall. He's like, no, go ahead. I set this all up for you.
Yeah, peace offering.
I did this. I know what you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you go have at it? And that'll be, my little olive branch. So I can go do this thing. You can do these things.
Yes.
You can do these two ladies while I go do my trickster things.
Yes. Because what we didn't mention before, part of the trickster personality is to target the high and mighty. So all of these people in the trickster's mind, deserved these punishments. Or, these murders, or in the case of Curtis, he didn't die, but the trauma that he's going to live with the rest of his life.
Right. Well-deserved.
Hoisted on their own petards.
Petard. Of course, do you know what that is?
No, I've heard the phrase, but I don't know what it is.
Because when the trickster actually says that to Dean, and Dean has that question on his face, he's like, what? It's Shakespeare. It's from Hamlet, and which is why, of course, Dean doesn't know it. It's because it's Shakespeare. And the phrase means basically the schemer gets schemed by their own scheme. So a bomb maker gets blown up by their own bomb. That's what that means, because a petard actually is an explosive device. So that's what that means. The schemer gets schemed by their own scheme.
I mean, I've definitely heard the phrase hoisted on their own petard. It wasn't an unfamiliar phrase to me, but I guess I just never gave it too much thought. It's like, okay, that's what it is. So anyway, he just wants to keep hoisting out people on their petards, but in the next town. He's just like, here, just, take as long as you like with these ladies, and I'll just go this way, you go that way.
Yep. And Dean's like, I can't let you do that. You're killing people.
Yeah.
I can't let you do this. And the trickster's like, well, I know you guys, but you should have known better. You should have brought backup.
Yeah.
And Dean says, well, luckily, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Enter Sam into the lecture hall. Enter Bobby into the lecture hall.
Mm-hmm.
Each down a flight of stairs. Each of them holding these ridiculously large stakes. I just want to point out that they were comically large.
Yeah.
I thought. And tipped in what I now know, because you told me, is the blood of the previous victim, which would have been the alligator guy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the tricksters figured out that he's been tricked.
Yes. He's like, nice. That was a setup, that little fight out there.
You tricked me. I get it. Well, what do you think about this? And boom, behind Sam appears the madman chainsaw cannibal guy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny, because the irony, or not the irony, but the funny haha behind this chainsaw thing is that Jared starred in the latest Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he fought Jason. He fought the chainsaw guy.
Wait, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Jason?
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw.
Those are two different.
Oh, did I say Jason? Sorry, I meant the Texas
chainsaw guy.
Yeah, okay. 2016. He starred as the guy who fights the chainsaw guy. I thought that was Jason.
No, Jason is somebody else.
Friday the 13th, Freddy.
Nightmare on Elm Street is Freddy.
Oh, Nightmare on Elm. Okay, so it's Friday the 13th is Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Chainsaw,
Halloween is Mike Myers, and Texas Chainsaw is Texas Chainsaw. I don't think he has a name.
Okay. 2016 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So well after this episode. Interesting.
Isn't that funny? Of course, having said that, now I need to look it up again.
His latest. He was in Friday the 13th.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for saving me.
And in House of Wax.
And what year was his Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th was 2009.
Okay, still before this. I mean, still after this episode.
Yeah, but not Chainsaw.
Okay, so Friday the 13th.
He's a machete, right? Yeah, he's got a machete in his hand in the poster.
Okay. Wow, where did I get this info?
From the producers of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th.
Okay. Thank you. I thought it was a fun point that he later goes on to battle,
a Halloween type of guy.
Yes.
A horror guy.
So out of nowhere appears this cannibal madman chainsaw guy behind Sam, and Sam now has to battle
this
thing.
Yes. And then the two hot ladies turn into superheroes, and they just, I mean, this was a scene right out of Austin Powers, where these 100%. Two fembots are just beating up the hell on Dean.
Kicking Dean's ass.
It was pretty wonderful, I have to say.
God. And Jensen did all his own stunts in this.
So did Bobby. Jim Beaver.
So all the throwing around of bodies was them.
Yeah.
And I want to also give high marks to these stunt ladies who had to do these stunts not only half naked, but in heels.
In heels.
Yeah. So bravo, thumbs up, because I can't even walk in heels, let alone do fight choreography.
And those are the hard kind of heels to walk in, because they're really stiletto. And pointy. Like, if it's got a platform or like a block heel to it,
you got a little bit more stability.
Yeah, they're way more comfortable and easy to walk in. But like those stiletto things are very hard.
And I mean, poor Jensen had to do fight scenes with half naked, beautiful, well qualified, stunt women. Which I just love that. And the fact that Richard Spade Jr. said, I just got to sit there and watch this over and over. I know. He said the only thing he hated about doing these scenes was how much chocolate he had to eat, because he was like eating candy bars while he was watching, Sam and Dean get their asses kicked. Yeah.
So after a little bit of ass kicking from either the ladies or the chainsaw guy actually cuts Bobby's steak right in half, I think. They get to a point where, like, I think it's that steak, the one that was cut in half, is like the pointy end is laying around. Trickster starts to monologue. It's like at the very beginning sentences of his monologue, where Sam and Dean, they see it at the same time. They kind of make a knowing nod, like they got a play that they do. I almost said Jared. Sam pushes it off to Dean, who does this like little flippy flip with his hand and like
jams it into the trickster's chest.
Yes.
Stabbing him, staking him. And the chainsaw guy disappears. The hot naked women disappear.
The bed does not disappear.
No. The scene of the crime doesn't disappear. Yeah. And the three guys are like, we're out.
Yep.
So the next thing we see is
dead.
them.
We go.
Yep. They're outside the building like, we need to get the heck out of here before somebody discovers this man staked to death, in the lecture hall.
I do want to say, I think that Dean felt bad about killing the trickster, because
I think so too.
I think he found a kindred spirit in the trickster a little bit.
Yes, exactly. They laughed at the same jokes. They both like their hot women and don't apologize for it. Yeah. And they laughed at the whole alien slow dancing joke. Yeah. They're like, that was a good one. Yeah. That was my favorite. They bonded. Yeah. So I think a little sad, but also you can't keep killing people. Right. I gotta kill you. Yeah. We kill the evil things. And so outside they're running down the stairs to the Impala. Bobby jumps in, and Sam takes this moment just before they both climb into the car to say, listen, Dean, I just want to, apologize for, everything that went on. But before he says that, Dean is like, yeah, me too. So neither of them fully say, I'm so sorry for everything, but they don't have to because they're brothers. They're like, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. As when Bobby pops back up, he's like, listen, you guys are breaking my heart. Can we go?
Yeah.
Can we do this in the car?
Totally breaks up this chick flick moment. Yeah, this time Bobby is the one to say, no chick flick moments. We gotta go.
So they get in the car and off they go. They drive off. And you think that's like, yay, happy ending, end of the episode. Mm-hmm. But it's not, because the camera comes back into the lecture hall, and we're looking at the dead body of the janitor, of the trickster, but then we notice that somebody is standing there looking over the body of the janitor, trickster. And the body starts to then kind of morph away the same way that the chainsaw guy morphed away, and the camera pans up to see the trickster. standing over the body of the trickster.
Yeah.
And the trickster, the dead body, morphs away, and the trickster's standing there eating a candy bar. And
he's like smirking. He's like, yep. All right.
Blackout. That's the end of the episode, is the trickster's not dead. And so it's like, okay, what?
What a good twist. I mean, I knew it was happening, but, which, again, I say, you'll never be able to watch this episode the same way twice.
Yes. Well, it's kind of like you can't watch The Sixth Sense.
Exactly.
Again, except when you watch it the second time, that's when you start going, oh, a clue. Oh, a clue. Oh, a clue. You know, all those things. But same thing with this episode. You can't watch it without knowing what you know. Anyway, I loved this episode. I had a hard time taking notes about it because I'm like, how do we do this without spoiling it while we're talking about it? And so now that we have spoiled it by talking about it, I just wanted to go back and say this. You mentioned the type of filmography it was, and I forgot what you said. The way it's two different characters retelling a scene, from different point of views. And this was originally done I wrote this down, in a 1950s movie called Rashomon.
Oh, yeah.
So there was, and it wasn't two characters, it was four different characters telling their stories. Yeah. And then the X-Files did this in an episode called Bad Blood, written by John Shaban. Actually, he didn't write it. He was a co-producer on that episode. Which was, again, one of the funnier X-File episodes with Mulder and Scully telling it in different ways. It was Mulder and Scully telling it, and also the characters that they were investigating telling it. Yeah. Very good episode. So again, I love how people's past lives, I worked on this show and I'm going to bring that experience into this new show I'm working on. So all the X-Files creators and producers and stuff now get to bring their experiences into Supernatural, even if it's just little dabbles. I love that. So I wanted to mention that in the beginning of the podcast, but I'm like, it's going to ruin it. So
I'm sure it's been done a number of times in a number of TV shows. Oh, this type of thing.
But the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah.
Just that's all I'm gonna say. I loved this episode, and it was, like you said, it was just a nice break. Yeah, I needed the humor. It was good to see the actors make fun of themselves and the characters make fun of themselves, but also strengthen the bond as brothers at the same time, because we got to see a little bit more of their childhood, which is not hunting. It was just them being bickering brothers.
Right. I'm a little surprised that Sam didn't rib on Dean for getting his ass kicked by two hot chicks. Considering that Dean is always ribbing on Sam, like, he's like, yo, man, you totally had a woman inside of you for like a week, right? Or whatever.
Good point.
They always make these, I mean, they are like sexist jabs, but I expect it out of them, you know what I mean? Yeah, this episode was fun to watch, especially because I had just gotten my booster shot the weekend that I was, like, prepping this, and I was just a wreck.
Out.
Oh. Yeah. Very feverish, like, in and out of, wobbling. And just, like, kind of watching this. It was the second time, like, I wasn't completely, like, out of it, so I knew what to expect, but it was still just, you know what, I'm just going to relax and watch this again and not take any notes and just laugh.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad.
How did you react to your booster?
I had no reaction whatsoever.
Oh my God.
I had no reaction. I'm so sorry. My arm was sore, but that was it. And I knew to, keep moving it. And I had my flu shot the day before. I was expecting to kind of be knocked on my butt, and I wasn't. So I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I did expect it because I got such a bad reaction to the second shot of the main vaccine. Lucky.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's different, though.
Absolutely. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad you did it.
I would do it again.
We may have to.
Yeah. No kidding.
I took a peek at next week's
I watched the whole episode.
Oh, you did?
I did, just because I was just kind of letting it play, and I was like, I'm just going to let it play.
I'm like, and we're back. We're back into the dark,
yes.
Dark and bloody.
Yeah. This one was really good, too.
Oh, was it? Okay, what was it called?
Roadkill.
Roadkill. Okay, it makes sense, considering what I witnessed in the first minute of the episode.
Yep, is a road. Driving on a road. Yeah. Etc.
This, the actress in this, I was like, how do I know her? How do I know her? She went on, she's done many other things, but most recently she was on Lucifer. Yeah, she actually plays Lucifer's mother.
Oh.
Yeah. As, like, beautiful as she is in this episode, just as a person, as an actress. Imagine her now 15 years down the road, still stunning. Still stunning.
Rude.
Yep, I know. How dare she? Yeah. How dare she?
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this week. Please be sure to subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcasts, rate us on Apple Podcasts, or anywhere that you can find podcasts. You can also follow us on all of our social media. We are at Salt and Burn This on Twitter and at Salt and Burn This Pod on Instagram and Facebook. We post a lot of good videos, a lot of good GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it. I will not judge you. Outwardly, inwardly maybe, but outwardly no.
I might bring up your grammar.
And we will see you next week for Roadkill. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.